Hello and welcome to this week's hashtag Toe to Toe. I'm Andy Scott. Delighted to have been joined by Andy Clarke and former world champion Barry Jones. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Well, good is one way of saying it. We should address straight away the news that's broken today. We were here for the golden contract draw at the Repton Club here in East London, and obviously the news has broken that show is postponed, as are all other professional boxing shows in the UK until further notice because of the coronavirus. It got to the stage that the fighters were actually in the room, including two that have come over from Europe. Unique times, sad times, but ultimately, Andy, the right call, you would think.
It has to be. Things have moved so quickly since last Thursday night. I remember I was coming back from a boxing gym in Peterborough, actually, and in the car we were hearing about Premier League players being diagnosed, Mikel Arteta being diagnosed, and I was thinking at that point there's no way the Premier League games can go ahead this weekend now, because as soon as participants start falling victim to it, then where do you go? And since then, things have changed rapidly, almost hour by hour, and with boxing really, it's more of a logistical issue, isn't it? Because if you're happy to have something behind closed doors, which most people won't be, but if you are, in terms of the size of the gathering, that can happen, but then you have to have the right people there. You have to have doctors, you have to have paramedics, and quite rightly, it's difficult to make an argument that they are not better employed somewhere else than at a boxing show, and that's what it's come down to, basically.
Just to echo that, Barry, ultimately doctors and paramedics, anaesthetists in this day that we're in at the moment, they are better served helping the general public than being ringside at a show that could be postponed.
Yeah, of course they are. I think we sort of all state the obvious, but you have to. Of course, the health and safety of everybody is paramount. But I'm old enough now to say, in my day, we would have fought through anything. No. It feels like that. You just feel it's a disappointment for these kids who've trained. Just take away the health and safety factor away from it. The guys who've trained so hard and got so close to a fight date, it felt like we were going to sneak this show through. This might be the last show, and so there was an air of anticipation. Yes, for these kids, to get through over the line, then to get to the final, then they have something to work for. Now they're left in limbo. They don't know when they're going to fight again, and that's for boxers all around the country, amateur and professional. They don't know when they're going to fight. Don't know what tournaments are coming up, or where their path lies now for a while, and that could not go on for weeks. That could go on for months, and listen, we know boxers, when they're idle, they get up to silly things, and more than anything is the weight's a big factor for fighters, because when you're not training, you're eating like a pig, and with the time off when you don't know when that's going to end, this is going to be like it's a horrible thing to say. It's going to be like a big, massive Christmas for some of these fighters, because they're just going to eat chocolate and by the way, chocolate, if they need chocolate, Andy's the man to go to. I've been told. But
that's it. My second job.
Yeah, it's that. They need that discipline in their life, and now that's going to be out for a while. Then just hope they don't veer too far off the path.
Well, Andy, you've had an interesting week. Everyone's had an interesting week, but you have been privileged enough that you've seen some live boxing in the flesh, actual boxers fighting down at the Olympic qualifiers. Explain what you saw and the news, obviously, that affects that tournament.
So I saw some really good fights last night, Monday night, down at the Copper Box. So it's the European Olympic qualifier, and they've already got the African one and the Asian and Oceanian one done. We had the draw last Friday, and then 3 days of action, and good results for the GB team. There was a win for Caroline Dubois in her first ever senior bout. Good win. Fraser Clarke got a walkover. Rosie Eccles lost her fight, but she drew a Russian in the first round, so that's never quite what you want. Charlie Davison got a good win. Then yesterday, Lewis Richardson also won at middleweight, and then Galaulia 5, Peter McGrail won and qualified. And the 3 days of results we've had will stand, and the draw remains. So when they reconvene, they will pick up where they left off. So day 1 next time will be what day 4 would have been this time. So Galal and Peter have done it. They've made it. And again, it was a question of logistics. It was due to the fact that there were people from 65 different countries there in total, and some of them, if they want to go home because borders are closing, they've got to go now. And I think, to be honest, they did well to get 3 days in. It's better than nothing.
Just with boxing as a whole, and I know that this is pretty unanswerable because we've never been through something like this, but you look at the major fights that are already scheduled, or major fights that are penciled. I think Anthony Joshua is 15 weeks or 16 weeks away from now in a stadium. Chisora Usyk, White Povetkin, Billy Joe, Canelo, which was penciled, Wilder Fury 3. Have you got any idea how they're going to fit all these in, and which fights may well fall by the wayside now?
Well, you would think off the top of your head that there may be anything, up until the middle of May. Just forget about it. I would guess. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But maybe the ones maybe in June, maybe they could just train towards that. I think you train anyway until someone tells you it's done. Then you have to just treat it as if you are fighting.
But that could be training in self-isolation, which I suppose a lot of boxers do anyway. But it won't be a major gym. It'll be in your garage or something, I suppose.
Which is not the end of the world, but you can do it. Because remember, it's the same for the other guy. That you think you're having bad preparation, but he's having exactly the same issues that you're having. So I think you'd have to train for it. But again, it's hard to, mentally when you have a date, when you have a set date, you know what you're training for. No, you're training for that date, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking this is not going to happen. Especially now with social media, you get so much information rammed on your throat every second of every day that you're making up your own mind really without any concrete evidence or proof. We're all the Prime Minister in our own little world, aren't we, nowadays? Yeah. So, but the fact is, we don't know what's going on. So I think if you have a date, you train for it. But realistically, the chances are, I think April, possibly May, are done.
At the press conference for Usyk Chisora, asked David Hay what measures you've put in place, and he said that the sparring partners that they've already got, which are Bryant Jennings and one other, neither of which are a southpaw, unfortunately, they are living in a house. They are isolating between the two of them in the house. They're then getting driven to the gym where they're taking all the precautions of washing their hands. They are sparring and then they're going straight home again. But how on earth are the fighters going to prepare? I don't know.
Well, there are just so many logistical problems attached to it. And when you think about it, the physical effects of contracting the virus on a fit, active fighter are not going to be all that great, because it'll be the same as having a mild cold, but it's your responsibility towards the rest of the population that makes the impact, because however many times you box, you would have gone in there with some kind of mild illness. Would have been always, exactly, because it breaks your body down, it leaves you vulnerable, and
making the weight.
Exactly. You're drained. You're never quite all there. So fighters contracting it for them wouldn't be. It just wouldn't be a problem or any kind of an issue. But then you have to do what's right by other people, and that's what makes it. It's absolutely imperative that you do that, but that's what makes it really, really hard.
We say that because that's what we think we know, but we don't really know.
No,
it can affect everyone individually differently. So you could have a fighter who could just be totally. When you're making weights, the hardest thing for the fighter is making weight. That drains you because you're having to be as fit and do as much as you possibly can, but you're not having the right stuff go into your body for most of the time. It's different nowadays. People train and eat and live better than they ever have before, but it's still, you're coming down to a weight that's not really a natural weight for you, for the size of your body. So that's when you're weak. And if you have a virus or a serious virus, then that's going to make you too weak to fight, and that's the worry. And also the sparring and stuff like that, and you've got to rely on your sparring partners to be responsible and sensible. I think that's the problem with this thing in general. We're all having to rely on other people. It's not just looking after yourself and your family. You're relying on other people to be sensible, other people to be honest about what they've got and where they've been and how their personal hygiene. And I think that's the issue for the whole country, the whole world.
Yeah, and I should just say that ultimately everything that we're talking about here is irrelevant. It's, this is bigger than sport. Yeah. Even though sport is what we do, it's our livelihood and the boxer's livelihood, but actually it's just about people staying safe and doing the right thing. And if that means that boxing has to stop, it has to stop. We're only talking about it now because it gives us something to talk about, and we're just floating ideas about what might happen in the future. One big thing as a boxing fan, which is it's so rare that you have a long boxing schedule, that the fights, that they get announced that far ahead. And I'm not just talking about Sky Sports here, I'm talking about all networks. Joyce Dubois, great fight, which you would think is under threat. Canelo Billy Joe Saunders might be under threat. if that hasn't been signed, but we all assume that it's going to happen. The 3 pay-per-views on Sky that I listed, and the fights in between, Kelly Avanesian, they're going to have to find, hopefully, homes for these, but some of these are going to go away. It's just as a fan in me, it's kind of like, what a shame. Well,
it's a lineup that would all, you can, every single one of them, for different reasons, you can get excited about it. The Kelly Avanesian fight, can Kelly step up to that level? And if he can, he's the star that we all predicted he would be from the Olympics, from the last cycle of the Olympics. The Chisora Usyk fight, can Chisora, who's just shown, he's literally like the rubber man, keeps rebounding back all the time. And will he be too big and powerful for the brilliant, most skillful fighters you could see on the planet at the minute in Alexander Usyk, or will he just show that he is a real threat to these big guys in the heavyweight division? Dubois and Joyce, you've got 2 guys there. One guy's older than the other. With youth, he's got age and experience over youth and potential. What happens there? Is Dubois going to be the next big thing, the next big British heavyweight star? Because listen, we own the heavyweight division at the minute. Or is Joyce the Olympic silver medalist, who's unbelievably Olympic silver medalist, and he's still an underdog? Will he show that he actually just knows a bit too much? And obviously and then not to forget, of course, Anthony Joshua Pulev. Now that's a harder fight than people will realise. Obviously, you think he'll walk through Pulev, but I'll tell you what, that's a hard scrap for him.
Just finally then, traditionally the boxing season, even that boxing season, you would think that with, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything that we've mentioned there gets rescheduled, that actually the summer, which is a quiet time for boxers because they go on holiday, that probably won't be the case. And if there is a backlog of fights, that it will be when they're trying to complete a Premier League season and everything else that comes with it, the Olympics. There's so many question marks, but there could be a backlog in British boxing that they want to get these fights out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what will happen. We'll be in for a very busy second half of the year, hopefully. And one of the many things that makes boxing unique is that we're not really beholden to any particular governing body apart from the British Boxing Board of Control, but as soon as the green light is given for things to reconvene, there'll probably be a show that day. In other sports,
midweek boxing.
In other sports, they'll have to wait.
We've done midweek shows. I love them myself.
I read 3 fights on a Wednesday.
Other sports will have to wait and tick boxes and do all sorts of things, whereas promoters, they will get out there and they will make shows immediately. We know that. We absolutely know that. It's a given, isn't it? That will happen. There could be boxing every night of the week. It could be like New York in the 20s.
I still can't believe, because promoters they're so clever, and they've had, the way they've had to conduct this business, or they still didn't get a show on. Because if anyone could keep working, it would be a boxing promoter.
So many gags running through my mind there. Can't say. Yeah, I think we'll leave it on one that in terms of. Places, I remember when they were talking about a Klitschko fight, they were talking about doing it on a Russian multi-billionaire yacht with 100 guests ringside before. I think that might have been during the volcanic ash cloud. So I'm sure, send in your ideas of where we could do them. But before we go, should just say we're saying things very lightheartedly, but thoughts from us 3 and everyone here at Sky Sports Boxing. Stay safe. Things are bigger than boxing. I know we're talking about it as if because we desperately want it to happen, but stay safe, follow the guidelines, and make sure you listen to the rest of the podcast, where I'm sure we'll be talking in a lot more depth.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.